North and west are the same.
We'll call the meeting to order. And can we have roll call?
Mark,
Here.
Sherelle,
Here?
Dan, Barry, Louise,
Here.
Adam,
Here.
Shane,
Here.
James, Tate,
Okay, we have a quorum, so we will proceed with looking at the minutes from the last meeting. Can I have a motion on that, if anyone has had a chance to review those?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, our first item to consider. Want to present that for us?
Yep, I can do that. Okay, so the first one tonight is LU-0013-23. Oh, can you still? Can you, oh, there I'm back. Okay. Which is Ryan Rentenaki on behalf of Wade Goffian. They're requesting a zone change to the rural residential zoning district. The subject property is going to be approximately 10 acres, and the property is currently within the agricultural zoning district. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision to create 2 lots and is currently working through the subdivision review process. The parent parcel is a quarter section west of the state highway, so it's approximately 158.03 acres. The newly created lots will be 10 acres and then 148.03. The larger parcel will remain in the agricultural zoning district, and the zone change will be for the smaller 10-acre lot, and it's to be used to house grain bin storage as well as various farm equipment. Access off of the newly created lot will be off of 136th Avenue Northwest, which is US Highway 85 as well. The larger lot can be accessed off of 136th Avenue Northwest or off of 73rd Street Northwest. And we did get township comment back, and they did recommend approval.
Do we have, I forgot to say this, we'll open the public hearing on this. Do we have any public comments? No public comments. We'll close the hearing. Board members, do you have any questions or comments?
There isn't any buildings in this parcel now. They're just pulling 10 out, so they put bins in it later down the road.
Correct. And I believe, just from talking with them, I believe that that smaller parcel will be sold to a family member at some point.
If there's no other questions, do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comment.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Can we do a roll call?
Mark,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Louise,
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. We'll move to the next item, which is presented by applicant Kari Farnsworth. If you'd like to present that one to us.
Yep, so this one is going to be LU-0015-23. It's Carrie Farnsworth on behalf of her husband, Vasilis. I'm not going to say the last name. They're requesting a conditional use permit for an additional dwelling within the urban residential zoning district. This is located up on an Ironwood Estate subdivision, Lot 7, Block 2. At the time that we did this staff packet, I had not gotten township comment back. They did send comment afterwards, and they did approve as long as it would remain with this applicant and residents only and not be transferable, which is something that is part of the conditional use permit. It's non-transferable. So they are requesting a conditional use permit for an additional dwelling to be attached to their garage. The lot is currently within that urban residential zoning district, which does allow for a second dwelling with the CUP. The applicant and owner plan to utilize the additional dwelling for Carrie's adult mentally challenged son. They're currently going to be working with companies on building plans to construct the single-family home on the lot, as well as the attached garage with the apartment. And we do have above, but it may be below or like behind, just attached somehow, depending on prices of building plans. At this time, the building plans are contingent on the approval of the CUP. Access to the lot is off of Ronan Avenue. They also do have electricity is already there, as well as water, and they'll just have to work on getting the septic put in as well.
Okay, we will open the public hearing. Do we have any comments on this? Anyone wish to comment, or anyone from the public wish to present?
And the applicant is here, so if you guys do have questions.
If there's no comments, I'll close the hearing. Do the board members have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I guess, Michelle, first, do I understand it's not two buildings? It's one building with two residents inside? One
Correct. So it will be like a garage apartment. So they're thinking that they'll have their home, as well as then the garage will be attached to their home, and then the apartment will either be above or behind, just depending on cost figures.
It seems like that's kind of a common deal anyway, without doing a CUP on it, isn't it?
If they're doing it the right way, they need to have the CUP. I'm not sure if it's very common. I don't know. You'd probably know more than I would if it's common to have.
Yeah, but I mean, there's all kinds of garages that got a bedroom up above them, isn't this basically what they're doing, is putting a garage above or a bedroom above the garage?
Yep. Would they have, would he have a kitchen and everything, a full-on? So it'd be more like a full-on apartment to where he could live on his own, but yet mom and Lucilis would be right there to help if need be.
So then the next half, talking to CUP, if it's already built and it's already in the house, how do you take the CUP away when they don't use it, if it's already there?
I'm not sure how that works.
May I address the board? Sorry, I don't know what happened to my microphone back there. There used to be one back there. I'll try my best to answer maybe a couple of the questions as far as I'm aware of it. We were aware that there are apartments that can be located above garages through the county. A lot of them at one time were located in what's now the ETJ of the city. Madison Ridge subdivision had a few. I would continually, at the time, hear about them because sometimes they would rent them out. That's certainly not the case with this. However, the challenge that homeowners can face if they build a separate apartment, even though it's kind of connected through a garage, is utilities, because to issue two addresses on a single parcel, it has to be recognized as a legal separate residence. And that is an advantage to have two addresses, because when a lot of times hooking up, if you're going to have your separate internet, separate power, it just depends on how it's going to be done. They will look for that. Sometimes insurance companies have called their office and looked for that distinct separate address and a separate building permit. It just depends on the insurance company, and even realtors will do that from time to time. So the right way would technically be to obtain the CUP to allow for the two separate residences, even though it kind of is one, and we're aware of bedrooms. Two bedrooms really aren't. We shouldn't call it sleeping quarters above a garage, because I think that goes against building code, but some people will call them game rooms. But when it's an actual apartment, the right way to do it would be to obtain a CUP in any acreage less than 40. A couple years ago, if you recall, we had changed anything 40 and above would no longer require a CUP to have up to two residences. Anything below that would. CUPs do stay with, as you're aware, the owner, not the land. And so what we have found, what we would assume if someone were to sell it and the CUP was in their name, in other instances with CUPs, usually the potential buyer will come in front of the board. We had that, I think the last one I can think of was for a dog grooming or a dog boarding facility. The sale wasn't going to go through until they could get approval from the board that the CUP could be transferred. We've seen that. And there's ways, if they didn't want to continue with the CUP, to probably consider that one residence and no longer have the separate apartment in and of itself. But there are instances where CUPs are tied to the person, and there's significant investments put into that property, but it's all contingent on a CUP. There's actually quite a few in the county. I'm not necessarily saying I see the end deal of that and how that works out when they're sold, but we do see them from time to time. Yeah.
Will they hook into their existing septic system, or will there have to be a separate one?
I probably am not the best person to answer it, but I would assume when they get their permit through the health district that they would probably consider it one system. I don't see why. Mark, you may have more experience being in the building industry, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure it'd be just, it's only 1 acre, so they'll only let them put one
Yeah,
septic on. And it just, like I say, I mean, there's hundreds of these around, that's why I'm just questioning. I mean, great for them to go through the process like this, to just,
Yeah. And we have this, we saw it a lot more during the last really peak in building permits. We do get these from time to time, but we are aware that there are others. But like I said, in those instances where we have had insurance companies call us and appraisers, we will let them know if they're considered compliant or not, and by building code standards, because it's got its own kitchen, it's a standalone apartment almost. We do have to let them know they're non-compliant if they haven't received a permit through the county for that. So.
Any other questions?
So can they use the same approach then going into there, or do they have to make another, so they can use the same one?
So they have not started building on the lot, so it will just be one approach into it.
What is the lifetime of a CUP?
It stays with the owner as long as, yeah. Correct.
They do sell, like you already said, the buyer can come before and then get granted the CUP again.
Correct, but it would still, at that time, if they were to sell and the new buyer was to come in front of the board, we would have to notify the township as well, and then they could also chime in on things, and say, no, we'd rather not.
Or a new buyer could just consider that part of the existing house.
Correct, yep,
Like having a kitchen and stuff in your basement.
yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a staff comment.
I'll second it.
And roll call?
Adam,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Louise,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Sherelle.
Yes. Do we have any discussion items for this? Anything that anybody? No.
CUPs for apartment styles.
Okay, it looks like our next meeting will be May 18th, and I guess we don't have any other business.
And so we do have one item on the agenda. I talked to Tate because I know that we don't always like to have meetings if there's just one thing. It is for another conditional use permit, and so they are also getting into the building season, so Tate did figure we still would have it.
Yeah, it's hard to put it off for a whole month. That's hard on people. Well, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. I have now